Cyberpunk 2077 is finally coming out, and you know what? It looks pretty dang cool. I say this full well knowing the controversy surrounding this game, and as a queer content creator, I also know that many folks seem to be shying away from buying Cyberpunk now due to that controversy. And really, I can't blame them. That's also not to mention that the PS5 and Series X versions are going to cost $70 new at launch. That's a lot of money to spend on one game, even if that's going to be the standard AAA game price going forward. So I figured, let's give ourselves a challenge. Let's not only take a look at 5 great Cyberpunk-style indie games today, but also aim to only spend around $70 total on them. Can we get 5 times the fun for the price of one AAA game? Well, I'm Jamie from The Gamer, and today we're going through 5 games that you penny-pinching Cyberpunk fans should maybe give a shot instead of Cyberpunk 2077. Number 1. Valhalla. When I set out to do this video, I saw this as a chance to take a look at one of 2 games that have a lot in common. These are, respectively, 2064 Read-Only Memories and Valhalla, Cyberpunk Bartender Action. Both of these games take place in a cyberpunk future, which is put on display with some absolutely gorgeous pixel art. Both take inspiration from classic titles such as Snatcher and Policenauts, and both were originally released on PC, with console ports later following. I learned about these two because Limited Run Games gave them physical releases on the PS Vita and Nintendo Switch a few years back, with there even being a double pack for the Switch that contains both of them. After consulting a friend and deciding I could only pick one for this video, I went with Valhalla. Created by Venezuelan developer Sukaban Games, this title came out on Steam back in 2016 and soon became a cult classic. If you want it today, you'll only have to drop $15 to give it a shot. Steam sales notwithstanding, of course. Valhalla, set in a stylized imagining of what the 2070s will be like, follows a bartender named Jill, who works at the Valhalla bar in Glitch City. Glitch City is a place that proudly takes inspiration from the likes of Judge Dredd, Blade Runner, and the aforementioned Snatcher. It's simultaneously eye-catching yet dingy, stunning yet sketchy, run rampant by dangerous criminals, and an equally as dangerous fascistic police force. Yet, you are not tasked with being some sort of futuristic heroine or adrenaline-seeking adventurer. How you learn about and interact with this world is by playing as Jill as she goes to work, interacts with a variety of interesting people, and then comes home to unwind and read the news. Unlike your average visual novel, there's no branching dialogue prompts or anything like that here. Instead, everything is merely changed by what drinks you mix and serve to your customers. Really, there is nothing quite like it. Combine all of this with an excellent soundtrack and a story that has some real emotional punch at times, and Valhalla isn't just an easy game to recommend, but a must-play for anyone with even an inkling of interest in the cyberpunk genre. Number 2. Ruiner. So I offhandedly mentioned to a friend the other day that I was doing a video about cyberpunk-style games. Her immediate response was, "Oh, well you better cover Ruiner." Ellie, this one's for you. Ruiner was originally launched in 2017 and is currently $20 on Steam. In this game, you play as a man living in the city of Raincock in 2091, who must save his kidnapped brother from the evil Heaven conglomerate. It's an isometric run and gun, similar in vein to the likes of Hotline Miami, where killing is the name of the game. It's definitely dark, it's definitely murder-filled. Hell, folks are even getting their brains hacked into here. It's the type of game that 10-year-old Jamie would have drooled over potentially playing, and then would have cried over when their mom gave them a stern no. The name of the game here is dashing around and shooting and slashing at enemies to take down as many as possible as fast as possible. Like any great game of this genre though, I'd argue that the emphasis here is less on speed and more about flow. It's all about getting into that groove of dashing, shooting, slicing, and just being sucked into the overall experience. Sure, it can be rather repetitive, but the solid boss design and the stunning art style helps make up for it. Despite the name, I guess you could say you don't have to worry about anything ruining your experience, am I right? No? Nobody? Damn. 3. Anachronox. Full disclosure, Anachronox is the oldest game we're covering today. Despite being readily available on Steam for only $7 dues, it originally released all the way back in 2001. It's also a game I, unfortunately, have not been able to sink as much time into as I would have liked. Seriously, that's an absolute shame. I really don't think there's anything quite like this game. Anachronox is a combination of ideas and stylings that really should not work together. Created by Ion Storm, the same folks who created the Deus Ex series, Anachronox is a game running on the Quake 2 engine with stylings influenced by Blade Runner and gameplay revolving around turn-based combat a la Dragon Quest. This game is named for a faraway planet named, well, Anachronox. The planet of Anachronox is divided between a wealthy northern half and a poverty-stricken rundown southern half, which is where the story begins. And as for that story, well, it spans multiple planets and includes a plethora of memorable characters and sharp writing that even touches on the birth and death of the universe itself. The adventure of the down-his-luck detective Slyboots and the people and places he encounters along the way is just plain gripping. It really is a shame that this title never became a huge hit, because it makes for both a compelling story and a fun gameplay experience. I have enough to say about Anachronox alone that could fill a whole video. And keep in mind, that's without having even beaten the game. But for now, just know that this is a great Cyberpunk style game, even nearly 20 years later, and it is well worth giving a shot. Number 4. Sense, a Cyberpunk ghost story. Let's talk about a game that'll run you $20 dues on Steam right now. Set in 2083 in the city of Neo, Hong Kong, Sense, a Cyberpunk ghost story is one part Blade Runner, one part Clock Tower, and one part homage to traditional Cantonese folklore. Now, Sense is not a perfect game. Sure, it pays homage to classic survival horror games such as Resident Evil 1, but it perhaps pays homage to them a bit too well. There's a fair bit of clunkiness here, and there were even enough bugs and glitches when it launched back in August for it to have already been given a major patch. That's not to mention some of the odd character design choices here. I guess developer Suzaku really wanted to provide an, titillating experience. Couple these flaws with a hardcore difficulty level, and it's easy to see why Sense has gotten mixed reviews since it released. And despite that, I think there's still a lot to love here. This is a game that's trying to tell a unique story, and though it may stumble along the way, the unique gameplay experience and the story itself is interesting enough to keep you hooked. Besides, if you're on the fence about spending money on this one, there is a free demo available. For all its issues, Sense is one worth at least checking out. Number 5. Ministry of Broadcast. Alright, for this last game, I'm going to fudge my own rules a little bit. Ministry of Broadcast is definitely a title set in a dystopian future. However, the overall aesthetic here isn't what I'd call cyberpunk. As far as look and tone go, it feels more so Orwellian than Blade Runner inspired. But at the same time, when the hell would I ever get to talk about this thing again? This title launched at $15 on Steam earlier this year, and has also seen a Nintendo Switch port since then. And of all the games we've gone over today, it's the only one I didn't play on PC. I love me some Joy-Cons. In Ministry of Broadcast, you play as a man named Orange who's taking part in a game show known as the Wall Show. See, you live in a dystopian country ruled over by a Big Brother-esque figure named the Grand Master. Your country is teetering on the brink of total war, and it's surrounded by a seemingly impenetrable border wall. It is heavily implied that you have a family that is on the other side of that wall, but you, for now, are stuck under the watchful gaze of the Grand Master. Your best chance of escaping is to compete in the Wall Show, as success will set you free. That, of course, is easier said than done. In this Prince of Persia-style platformer, you'll have to contend with rabid attack dogs, hallucinations, and even using your fellow contestants as platforms to walk over deadly spikes. Darkly humorous and difficult to put down, Ministry of Broadcast is an easy one to recommend. So with that, these are 5 games that you could pick up instead of Cyberpunk 2077. Something to keep in mind here is that Cyberpunk will be $60 new on the PS4 and Xbox One, and only the PS5 and Series X versions will cost $70. However, if you do get that PS4 version, you'll be able to upgrade it to the PS5 version for free when it launches. but for only $17 more than the PS4 version of Cyberpunk, you can walk away with digital copies of all 5 games we covered today. Cyberpunk is also said to contain a main story that will be around 40 hours long, which isn't bad. But according to HL2B.com, the average time to beat the main stories on all the games we looked at today are 11 hours for Valhalla, 6 hours for Ruiner, 28 hours for Anachronox, and 7 hours for Ministry of Broadcast. Sense is unfortunately too new to have a time average, but even without that one included, we're looking at over 50 hours worth of gameplay here. In my eyes, that makes these 5 titles a better deal. Sure, if you want physical versions, that price will jump up substantially, but even then, all 5 of these games are at least worth checking out. So with that, will you be buying Cyberpunk 2077? Will you be buying any of the games featured on today's list? What are some great dystopian or Blade Runner-esque titles we left off? Let us know down in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more great content like this. See you next time.